Alright, my name is Michael Hazelwood. I'm going to be talking about religion in sports. And first off, when it comes to this information, I'm just going to be narrowing it down to talking about religion within the U.S., sports and religion in the U.S., and with Christianity being the main influencer, and how those kind of unite. And one thing to consider when talking about religion in sports is our kind of understanding the great sports myth by implementing more rules and morals into how they're running the organizations and programs and teams with Christianity. And basically, a summary of the great sports myth is just that sports are naturally pure and good while bettering those people involved. Therefore, there is no need to study or evaluate sports to improve their impact on people. So by understanding this, they're kind of, decreasing corruption within sports. How it's kind of one of the factors that can influence that as well. And so I'm looking into three main areas that sports and religion can collide, being schools, organizations, and through coaches. When it comes to schools, private schools are a big area since religion influences not only the like teaching and all other aspects of the school, but obviously it's going to be put into sports as well. A few examples, local examples, are just the Lexington Christian Academy and Lexington Catholic High School and Asbury University. I'm very familiar with these, and they're very popular, so they do have a lot of influence around here. But as far as when it comes to public schools, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to implement like religion because they have limitations. Like during school hours, you can't necessarily allow to influence religion. They do have clubs and after school things that kids can do, but it's a little bit more limited. Then when it comes to sports organizations, they are actually obviously allowed to have more freedom than some of the public schools to do what they want and be more inclusive of deciding age limits and who's involved and all of that. The YMCA is kind of one that you might initially think of, since like in the name it's Men's Christian Association, Young Men's Christian Association, but obviously it's not limited to those people, especially once today it started as a Christian organization and had like Bible studies and things, but now has sort of shifted just more of a community, and they've sort of strayed away from the initial intentions over the years. So it's not really a Christian organization now. Upward's another one. My brother played soccer with Upward, so I'm kind of familiar with some of the stuff. I was kind of young when it happened, but there's kind of those organizations that are clearly around us and impact kids through Christianity. I also, like growing up, did a bunch of church leagues through my church. Did it for several years, and they kind of incorporated a lot of stuff. Like they'd do prayer before games and things like that to kind of keep everything going well. And so it's not like that they're necessarily pushing Christianity a lot. They're just kind of using small ways to influence throughout the game and hopefully to get people maybe to come to their churches and things like that. But the next one is coaches. Coaches are obviously one of the biggest influences in sports. Within the sports commitment model, they're kind of like enjoyment's being listed as one of like the most impactful things. And obviously, a coach is kind of going to help decide whether they're going to enjoy the sport or not, just because coaches can be really rough or be really inviting, and for a lot of people, that's kind of what leaves the mark on whether they stay with the sport or not as well. Um, and so obviously that kind of just depends on how the coach depends to teach. They have the FCA, which is the Fellowship Christian Athletes, which is a pretty popular sort of organization. But what it does is sort of work with coaches is kind of a big thing that it focuses on, is just working with the coaches with the religion, like specifically in this case Christianity, and how that and then how they can reach the kids that are impacting through that. Especially when it comes to upper level things, like obviously NBA and things aren't going to get direct, religious influence from the organizations, but through the coaches and how they like morally, you know, teach rules and ethics through their coaching, is definitely going to impact athletes, and that could be, work through FCA organizations or just the coaches, religion themselves, and how that could impact the playing field. So overall, the U.S. especially, there's a big religion and cult sports mix, and how the culture sort of um, goes together around that. There's several organizations and ways that you can just see it locally and worldwide, and how it's kind of being spread and just how it has various impacts.